Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back. So today we're going to be having a big girly chat. You guys have sent in your questions over on Instagram. We have a variety of topics we're going to be chatting through today and it's very much giving cozy vibes. We're sat in front of the fire, but anytime I film here my nerves to be gone. I always feel like a spark is going to fly out and conveniently land on me and I'll go up in flames in the middle of filming a video. But let's hope that doesn't happen. But before we dive into the video today, I just want to clear something up. So I've been filming YouTube videos for 7 years. I think it was the 21st of September was actually my 7-year anniversary, which is just crazy. It's been such a long time, but if you've been following me for the 7 years, you'll know that very early into my channel, I started doing girl talks. And it's been something that I have continued to do. And in every girl talk I have done, I have never, answered the same 2 questions. Like, we're always talking about different topics or different subjects within that same topic, and it's never like repetitive. But anyways, every time I've put up a question box for a girl talk, the last year and a half, I'd say, I've had 1 or 2 people put in the box every time, why do you keep filming the same videos? And it's just irked me this time, and I don't know if it's because I got my period a week early and it has totally thrown me off. I'm all over the place. But I've posted like 12 videos since I've last uploaded a girl talk. Them last 12 videos, none of them videos have been girl talks. So this is like my 3rd girl talk I've done this year, and it's in November. And it's the same like last year. I think I did 3 girl talks throughout the year, the same the year before. Like, I'm not doing a girl talk every other video, but it's something that is part of my channel. I'm not a content creator who has a niche, as you guys know. I do a bunch of different content, but there's a lot of content creators who do have a niche. Like, you've makeup channels, fashion channels, like vlog channels. Like, are you telling them or are you asking them why they keep filming the same videos? Because technically, makeup video, make video. Same video, but the context is different. Just like hauls. The context of the video are going to be different because you're showing different clothes and you're talking about a different brand or whatever it might be. Just like how my girl talks are all so different from one another. As long as you guys keep sending in questions, dilemmas, subjects we've not discussed before in these girl talks, I am going to keep making my girl talks a few times a year, as I have been for like the last 6 years. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up because it has been happening every single time I put up that question box. And I'm just like, are other people thinking this? Because there really are only so many videos you can do, but the context of the videos are going to be different. My goodness. I know the people writing it in are probably people who don't like me or don't watch my videos. I know they're probably not people who genuinely like me and my content, but just in case anyone else, had that thought in their head, because I often feel like when 1 or 2 people say something, it can speak for like more people who aren't saying it type thing. And a bit of a ramble there. My tea's nearly gone cold. Oh, so good. Right, let's dive right on in. So, how do you communicate with an ex who's not over you, but you're not there anymore and just want to be friends because that's what you miss? Is that possible or delusional? Delulu girl, you're living in Delulu world. If either person still has feelings, I have never seen 2 people successfully being able to be friends because it is just way too messy when feelings are involved. Like, you're saying that you guys are exes. Like, that even translates to friends. Like, I remember years ago, I think about like 4 years ago, I had this boy best friend and we were so close. He ended up turning around to me one day and confessing that he had feelings towards me, and I did not have any of them sort of feelings towards him whatsoever. And I was so upfront and honest with him, and I told him like that, I didn't feel that way, yada yada yada, but I still wanted to continue our friendship. Let's just say that the friendship was never the same after that, and it wasn't too long until we stopped being friends completely because it just became so messy. And I think more on his part, he couldn't continue the friendship with me after he had told me that, and I had like, he would have felt like I rejected him, but I had to be honest with him, and that was just, we were just friends. So then like add into the equation of having a whole relationship and one person still having them feelings, all of the things you guys would have gone through together, experienced together, like, I just think you're living in Delulu land, girl, and I feel like the best thing for you is to just cut contact with him, and if in 6 months time, a year's time, he no longer has feelings for you, then maybe you guys can pursue a friendship. But until there are no feelings involved, I just don't think it's possible. In this case, being Delulu is not the Solulu. Is it hard leaving your parents' house? Is it hard living with a partner? I know I should make this step. I am 24 and we've been together for 5 years, but I love my family and home and find it hard leaving them. Do you have tips? I feel like such a crybaby. The first thing I would say is don't be feeling like a crybaby, seriously. Second of all, I would say it is hard to leave your parents' house, but it's much harder to leave if, like what you're saying, you're very happy at home. And my opinion is that if you are happy and comfortable at home and it is a good dynamic and a good setup and it's healthy and it's functioning and all of them things, I don't see anything wrong with staying at home as long as you can, because that's a luxury that a lot of people don't get, you know. For me personally, there were many reasons as to why living at home was just not a good option for me anymore. I was personally facing a lot of challenges still living at home. I was finding it very difficult for a number of reasons and I really needed to get out. Like, I never even wanted to move back home in the first place. As you guys know, I moved out for a year and then I ended up moving back home for a year and a half until I moved out again a year and a half ago. But I was yearning for my own space, my own independence, my own freedom, just all of it. So I feel like it's such a hard one because it really depends on your circumstances and the situation. The only other thing though on the flip side is that I do really believe through and through that you cannot fully know somebody until you live with them. And yeah, of course living with a partner is hard. Like when you initially move in with anybody, there are going to be challenges because you are two people coming together trying to cohabit. So yeah, when you first move in with your partner, you know, you're going to have to kind of figure out how yous are going to run your home and how does that look and how do yous kind of work together, living together, you know. So I feel like what can be really hard about leaving your parents' house is, you know, it feels like an ending of a chapter in your life and a beginning of a new chapter, and change is daunting and change is scary, you know, and most of us struggle with change. Like a lot of us are creatures of habit to our core, you know, so we tend to want to stay with what's familiar, but you know, you're often not going to grow and learn in what's familiar. You're going to grow and learn when you push yourself out of your comfort zone. I feel like it's always important to remember as well is that like you can always go back home, like to visit. Like you can go visit your parents however many times you want. You can stay over in your parents' house. Like, you know, you're not moving to the other side of the country, I'm assuming, or the other side of the world, sorry, I'm assuming. You won't be moving super far away. If I were you, I would kind of weigh up each side of it and like see what your pros and cons are for either or. Like, you know, what's your money situation like? What's your boyfriend's money situation like? What's his living situation like? Like, you kind of have to look at a full picture, I feel. But because you are so content at home, I'd say like there would be no harm in staying there for another year. You know, over the next year, maybe you guys can start like putting money away. You can start looking to see if any available houses or apartments come up. And then if something does come up, you can maybe like apply. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Like, as you guys know, like it took us like a year to find somewhere to rent, you know. I don't know where you live, but the housing crisis in most countries is really bad at the minute. It's terrible in Ireland, like nobody can find a place to rent. So that's also good to keep in mind, because like you don't want it to happen where you get to a point and you're like, okay, I need to get out now. Like I just need my own space. I need my own independence like now. But then you can't find somewhere for another year, you know. What advice would you have for someone who hasn't found the one, other than love yourself? Because I am happy. I do love myself, but my desire for a partner continues to at times dampen my joy and I hate it. I feel like this is something a lot of people will be able to relate to, because, you know, when you are at a place where you're happy and you do love yourself and, you know, you're kind of at a place in your life where you're like thinking, you know, I would be a good partner to somebody, you know, I'm ready for a relationship. Like, you know, I've dealt with my shit, I feel ready, and then you just can't find anyone. I feel like it's so important to remind yourself that it's not about getting into a relationship. It's about finding the right person, like as you say, someone who hasn't found the one. Like technically, I'm sure in the time you've been single, you could have gotten into a relationship if you wanted. Like most people have the opportunity to get into a relationship, but you just don't want to get into a relationship with absolutely anybody. And I feel like it's important to remind yourself that there are a lot of people who are in relationships where they are extremely miserable, that the relationships are extremely toxic, they feel stuck, they feel trapped, they're not in a good situation, and they're also not with the one. Even though from the outside looking in, you might be thinking, oh, you know, look at them, like I'm so jealous of them, they've got it all, they've got the house, they've got the dog, they've got the relationship. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and I feel like it's so important to remind yourself of that. Like you really have no idea, like how many times have you heard something that happened, you know, like maybe a couple split up or something happened and you would have never expected it. And that's because you don't know what's really going on when they go in that house and that door shuts, you know. We often compare our behind the scenes with other people's highlight reels, so what we're seeing, what they're choosing to show us, but you can't compare in that way. I also feel like it's important to remind yourself that it's okay for that to dampen your joy. It's okay to feel lonely, even if you're happy and love yourself. Because humans, naturally, we want to have a partner. Like, that's literally our natural instincts, is to mate with somebody, you know? So, like, make sure you're reminding yourself of that. It is totally normal how you're feeling, because it's in our instincts, you know, to want a partner. I think the best advice I'd have is to validate yourself in what you're feeling, because it's totally okay. And the second thing I'd say is, if you haven't been, put yourself out there more. But if you have been putting yourself out a lot and you're finding that really overwhelming, frustrating, because you're finding yourself in the same situations, I'd say take a step back from putting yourself out there for a while. So whatever you've not been doing, I'd say do that, because sometimes we just need to kind of interject and change our path a little, and maybe by changing our path, we're going to meet paths with the other person, you know, and reminding yourself that you are going to find your person. They are out there. The time is just not right now, you know. You don't know, they could be sitting in their bedroom feeling the exact same way you are, being like, when am I going to meet the one? But it's going to happen, you know, and it's going to be so worth it when it does happen. So just try and have a little bit of patience with yourself, even though I know it's so hard. A guy I'm friends with and we used to be in a situationship with has a girlfriend. She said she doesn't mind him going to other people for sexual reasons since she's asexual, and he came to me. Is he just using me? He says he's not, and that he really cares about me and everything, but I don't know. Woman to woman, he's 100% using you. Like, if you guys used to be in a situationship, that means you guys were sleeping together. He didn't ask you to be his girlfriend, so it was solely sexual. He then gets into a relationship, his girlfriend is asexual, and he's told you that she said he can go to others for sexual reasons, and that's what he's doing. So he's literally told you what he is doing, and I feel like the fact that you guys were in a situationship prior and now he's doing this would scream to me that I feel he's definitely using you, and I personally wouldn't have that. Like, you know, obviously you know the ins and outs of it, but especially if you have any feelings for him whatsoever, I just feel like it is an absolute recipe for disaster, because you are going to end up getting hurt. He has got a whole ass girlfriend, you know. You don't know how many girls is he going to either. Like, I just feel like, to protect your own heart, if I were you, I would swiftly remove myself from that situation. And I'd say it to him too, like, you know, you don't need to ghost. Like, I'd be upfront, I'd be like, look, I'm not comfortable with this setup, so, you know, I'd rather if we don't see each other again and just leave it here. You know, I had fun with you or whatever, but, you know, take care of yourself. Just, you know, keep it brief. Like, you don't need to get into a big spiel or and say that you feel used if you don't want to say that to him, and like kind of, you know, bring out that vulnerability. I don't feel like he really deserves it. We have to give him brownie points because he was upfront and honest about it, but in saying that, then I feel like you need to do what you got to do with that information, and I personally would be out of there. I know I need to lose weight for health reasons, but I'm scared to go to a dietitian, nutritionist, oh my god, I can't say that word, nutritionist, because of my weight. I fear the scale so much. I totally understand what you mean about being afraid to go to a professional, because professionals can, not are, but they can be very insensitive, and I have experienced it many times, as have many of you guys, as we have spoken about in the past. In these situations, I personally feel like it's best to do as much as you can before going into the appointment. So that's what I've kind of tried to do in the past. So in this situation, what I would do is, you're saying that you fear the scale so much, so I would try and become more comfortable with the scale on your own. And you need to try and, like, you know, shift your mindset in the sense of, when you get on that scale, and whatever number that is, you need to stop attaching that number to you, because you are not that number. You know, that number is something that you can change. So don't be seeing this number and feeling like this is just who I am, full stop. No, you have control over this, you know, so it's not who you are. You are an amazing person. You know, you are not your weight whatsoever. So I feel like if you could try and become more comfortable with that and shift your mindset in that perspective before going and booking, you know, a specialist appointment, I feel like that will really help you. The second thing I would say is to find somebody either off a recommendation or reviews. I solely go off reviews if and when I can, because you cannot be a lived person's experience with something. You just can't. Like, it's the same thing with my driving instructor, you know. The reviews were what made me book with him, you know. I feel like if there is any way that you can kind of, you know, do a bit of research and see what dietitians, nutritionists, and they're the kind of field as well where there are going to be reviews. It's not like a doctor where it's, you know, different, or you're not going to a hospital. So I feel like you should be able to find people's, you know, own experiences, and that again will then help you feel more at ease, I feel, prior to going in. Another thing I would say is to have a phone call with them before your appointment and just explain to them, just be honest with them. And if you are honest with them a lot of the time, then they will change their kind of way of working with around whatever you need. It was the same when I had my first driving lesson. The first thing I said when I got in the car was, I am so nervous. And he says, I'm glad you told me that, because I am too. And it literally put my mind at ease so much, you know. Then he was like, right, well, we can go at your own pace, your own speed. If you have any questions, if you need to stop, like, he just relaxed me so much in literally the first 5-10 minutes of that lesson appointment, you know. So I would really recommend you doing the same thing, and I promise you, if you do all of them things, it will help a lot. And I feel like it's important to try and shift like a positive experience for yourself, and by doing them things, you're giving yourself the best possible chance. And of course, like, you know, people have bad experiences and it's really unfortunate, but because of the speciality it is, I feel like you have more in your hands than you would if it was like a doctor, you know. So we got a bunch of questions on breakups. So one of them was, how do you know when it's time to break up with someone? Currently trying to decide whether to break up with my boyfriend of 10 years. I feel like a good gauge can be if you're spending more time thinking about ending the relationship than you are about your future together, you know, your plans together. I feel like that can be a gauge, because like if you think back to, you know, when you weren't thinking this way, I'm sure you were very much focused on your future together, your life together, whereas now it feels like you are very much in the like questioning it. And I know, because you have been together 10 years, it's not just the case of like, oh, we're going through a rough patch, because I'm sure you guys have had many an up and down, you know, 10 years, like relationships of multiple years, you're gonna go through ups and downs. So, you know, I know that that's not the case here, you know, it's not just a little bump in the road. But recently I was reading something and it hit the nail on the head. So it was saying, if you're questioning your relationship, there are 5 questions that you need to ask yourself. And based on the answers to these 5 questions, it should give you the answer that you need, and it's extremely eye-opening. So the first question is, if someone told you you're a lot like your partner, would this be a compliment to you? The second one is, are you truly fulfilled or just less lonely? The third one is, are you able to be unapologetically yourself, or do you show up different to please your partner? And the fourth one, are you in love with your partner right now as a whole, or are you only in love with their good side, their potential, or the ideal idea of them. And the last question is, would you want your future or imagined child to date someone like this person? And I feel like they're just the best 5 questions you can ask yourself if you're questioning a relationship, if you're unsure about it, if you're doubting it, because that gives you a lot of insight that a lot of the time you might find it hard to be able to really break things down and look at them logically, whereas them questions really helps you kind of pull the rose-tinted glasses, the pros of the relationship away and see it for what it is. I do feel like a lot of us stay in relationships for their potential and the idea of the person, and a lot of people are in relationships with people who it would be an insult to them if someone told them they're a lot like them, and they couldn't think of anything worse than their future child dating someone like this person. I always say that when it comes to leaving a relationship, you and your partner are the only 2 people who knows the ins and outs of what has gone on. Like, nobody else can give you advice because they don't know what's gone on in it. You've been in it every moment, every good and every bad. Like, even if you were confiding in a friend or a family member, you're still not going to be telling them like 3/4 of what's happening, because it would be physically impossible to recite like all the good, all the bad, every little moment of the day, whereas you're the one living it. But I feel like these questions are such a good gauge to go off. Girls, I am fuming. I was sitting here talking to myself for the last 20 minutes, didn't realise that my card for my microphone was full. But yeah, thank God I noticed before I filmed the whole video. That would have been a nightmare. Okay, so basically, I was on a night out in August. I drank far too much and made a few inappropriate remarks towards a bouncer. The following weekend, said bouncer made me aware that they remembered me, and I was so embarrassed I couldn't even look at them. Over time, it feels more awkward every time I'm there, but I don't want to stop going cause myself and the girlos like the vibe there. Here's the dilemma though. I feel like I owe the bouncer an apology and have done since it happened, but every time I try, I freak out and back out. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say, I feel like you're really overthinking this, but I totally get it, right? I've been in similar situations to this. Like, when I was in my teenage years, I had a couple of wild years, you know, as most of us do, right? And yeah, me and my best friend had a run-in with some bouncers, and I remember feeling the exact same way as you, like the absolute fear the next day. But like, I'm not being funny, bouncers can be absolute arseholes. Like, they can be so rude for no reason. Like, oh my God, some of the things that I've heard bouncers say, there is no need. Like, no need. And they're so big and scary. It's like, hello. But I remember I was just like, I'm going to have to bite the bullet. And I went in and I apologised. And it was so grand. Like, they were just like, don't worry about it. You know, I think you're a lovely girl. I appreciate the apology. And that's all you have to do, is literally go up to him and be like, look, I just want to say, when I was here 3 weeks ago, I made some really inappropriate remarks. It was very wrong of me. I had a little bit too much to drink, and I just want to say that I'm sorry, I apologise. That's literally all you need to say. And he'll probably be like, don't worry about it, just don't let it happen again. Like, I guarantee you they'll be like his exact words. So yeah, I'd say you've gone through the worst part now by going back into the pub. Like, you've seen him and he's let you know he's remembered because he was sober, and you've been there multiple times since. So I feel like the hardest part is done, you know? I feel like you're putting yourself through more stress by not just apologising, because every night you're there, you have this like weight on your shoulders. Once you apologise to him, it will literally feel like you've a weight lifted off your shoulders. You'll walk into that pub and you'll probably have the best night you've had since this happened, because you'll be relaxed. How are you meant to enjoy yourself if you can't relax? You can't, okay? You don't need to make it into a bigger thing than it is. You know, I'm sure he has had 20 other girls say something to him since. So you're probably not at the forefront of his mind now anyway. Like, you weren't the first and you're not going to be the last. But apologising is the right thing to do, and you need to do the right thing. So that's what I'd do if I were you. My partner of 6 years, age 24, left me. Said he feels he hit the jackpot with me too young and wants to be young and sleep around. My mum died 6 months ago and he was there through her illness and sat with me while she was in hospice. What do I do, and how can I move forward and be happy on my own? First, I just want to say that I'm so sorry, because you were dealing with so much here. Like, my heart is actually breaking for you. Like, between your boyfriend of 6 years leaving between what he said and then losing your mum, like I can't even imagine how you're feeling right now. But I just want to let you know that you can and you will get through this, okay? So don't be feeling for 1 second that you're not going to get through this, because I promise you, right? The first thing I would say is I think it's absolutely disgusting what he has done and what he has said for many reasons. But first of all, I just want to say the way you say that he was there through her illness and sat with you while she was in hospice, I feel like any decent person is going to do that. You know, if you have someone you're close to in your life and they're losing a parent, a loved one, a close one, and they're very sick, if you have any which ways kind of heart, you're going to show up and you're going to be there. You know, you have to be a horrible person to not show up for someone in that kind of time of their life. But I can imagine because he was there for you, like it's making it that much more difficult because, you know, well, especially she knew him. You know, she knew him for 6 years, and a lot of the time that can be really hard when you lose a parent because you're like, she's not going to meet my next boyfriend. But you need to remember that your mum wouldn't want you to be with somebody who's saying this stuff to you. Like, I'm sorry, like 6 years he's saying he feels he hit the jackpot with you too young. I just feel like the excuse he's using, like, what? You're too amazing, so I need to go and sleep around. Make it make sense. That literally makes no sense. If you feel like you've hit the jackpot, why are you not appreciating and caring and nurturing the jackpot? And right, I'm going to tell you one thing. He is going to regret this, and I will put my hard-earned cash, I'd put all my money on it, that he's going to come crawling back. But I really hope that by that time, you are going to be so far moved forward past this and you're going to see the picture and him for what he is that you won't want him back. Because I don't know how somebody can do this to somebody they say they've hit the jackpot on and they love and they care about, and 6 years, like, no, like it's given emotional immaturity. Like, he is screaming, I am emotionally immature. He's going to see if the grass is greener. That's what he wants to do. And he's going to see it's not greener over there. Because I'm sorry, having casual relationships does not compare to having a secure, loving, committed relationship with somebody. You know, there's just no comparison. So like, yeah, he might have his fun for like 2 weeks and then he'll be like, what have I done? Wait a minute, okay? I would say try and not look too far forward into the future because you're dealing with a lot right now. So trying to just take it day by day at the minute and like putting your time and energy into the things you love. I feel like you need to ask yourself the 5 questions I shared earlier on in the other person who wasn't sure if they were wanting to leave a relationship, because even though he left and you didn't leave, you mightn't have been as happy as you thought you were in that relationship because you were dealing with so much. Like, I don't know how long your mum was ill for, but I can imagine, like, you know, it was a period of time, so you've had a lot on your plate the past while. So maybe he wasn't bringing to you what you also need in a relationship, you know. So try and kind of look at the relationship more like objectively, do your pros and cons list, bang it into your head, please, that he is not worth your time if he can actually turn around and say, I feel like I've hit the jackpot too young with you. Okay, well, good luck, goodbye, God bless, you are never going to get the jackpot again. Like, I'm not being funny, like, that doesn't come around multiple times in your life. If you feel like you've hit the jackpot, you have hit the jackpot, my God. Yeah, I'd say you just really need to pour into yourself and surround yourself with loved ones at the minute. And talk, like, let it out, like, cry, let it out, all the emotions you're feeling. And I genuinely think that in 2, 3, 4 weeks, once you're past the initial shock stage of it and you enter like the kind of like anger stage of a breakup, you will start to put these pieces together and I don't think you'll want him back. I really believe that. But please just pour into yourself and be so patient with yourself. You need all the patience right now because you are dealing with a hell of a lot and you are so strong and I'm so proud of you and you will get through this and you're still standing even after all you've been through, and that just shows that everything you need is in yourself. You don't need anybody else. He doesn't deserve you. He doesn't deserve your love, your time, your energy in any way whatsoever. He clearly cannot appreciate what he has, a good thing when he has it, but someone else will. they fucking will. Okay? How do you keep moving forward when you're feeling depressed, uncertain, or like there's no hope? How do you move beyond those feelings? Whenever I've been depressed, uncertain, and felt like there's no hope, I don't focus on moving forward. I focus on this moment right here, this day, this hour, and that's all I worry about. And I feel like when you are in the pits of it, I feel like that's all you can do. From my own experience, whenever you try and get ahead of yourself, like you're trying to like move forward, I feel like you can often send yourself spiraling 10 steps back because you're not in a good place. So you need to be patient with yourself. You need to show yourself kindness, gentleness, and you need to give yourself time, because the one thing is that it cannot rain forever. The storm cannot last forever. It is physically impossible. So reminding yourself that you are in a storm right now. You're in a really bad storm, and what do you do in a storm? You take shelter, you feed yourself, you stay warm, and you just take care of yourself till the storm passes. So taking it day by day and just focusing on what you can right now. So you know, whether that's like, right, I have this work I need to do today, and then when I have that work done, okay, I need to feed myself some food because my body needs it. I deserve it. I need to have a shower. I need to, you know, that makes me feel good. I need to make sure that, you know, I've changed my bed sheets. I feel good getting into a bed, doing the little things without trying to do it all at once. I feel like this helps because by just focusing on taking it moment by moment and day by day, what often happens is you'll slowly come out of it. So there'll be a shift at some point, you know? So maybe after a few days, you might get some good news, and that might give you a sprinkle bit of hope. And that little sprinkle of hope might make you be like, you know what? I've not been interested in this hobby for a while, or seeing a friend. I'm going to go do that now. Or, you know, that deadline with work, I'm feeling like I can tackle that right now. Like, that's often what happens, but you need to give yourself time, or else you're not giving yourself the best possible chance to get out of it. I feel like sometimes we really do need to slow down. And that doesn't mean that like you're not going to still be getting done, you know, your necessity things that you need to get done. It just means that you're not pushing yourself past the point that you're capable of, you know? So I just found out my boyfriend of 2.5 years, and man I love, and even spoke of engagement and buying a house together with, is actually married to someone else. Do I believe him? He says he's separated and only loves me. How do I fix my lack of trust? Oh my god. This is like a movie plot. I personally wouldn't believe him, because why has it taken you 2.5 years to tell me? 1, did he tell you? 2, did you find out? 3, did he let it slip? Like, these things matter. And if he told you, why did it take 2.5 years to tell me? We've been talking about getting married and buying a house and moving, you know, moving our lives forwards together. It's kind of a vital piece of information, because babe, you can't get married before you get a goddamn divorce. Like, how did you even not think that this was going to come out? Like, I just would have so many questions, and I just feel like every other woman would be the exact same. Like, are you kidding me? Like, do you think I was born yesterday? Like, this is really giving, like, you think I'm stupid and you think I only have 2 brain cells. I personally, I don't know how I could move past this. Like, you're saying, how do I fix your lack of trust? You're right to have a lack of trust. He's the one who's given you a reason to not trust. If he didn't do this and he had told you from get-go, hey, look, I'm married, I've got a wife, but we're not together, well, it makes sense. You're being upfront, you're being honest. Okay, fine. But 2.5 years in, like, that's a long time. We're not talking 2 months. If he's saying he's separated and only loves you, why didn't you tell me? That tells me that there's something that he did not want you to know. Whether he was in communication with her, whether he wasn't actually separated with her and they were still together, whether he was sleeping with her. What else has he not told you? That'd be my worry. Like, if you have kept a whole marriage from me, what else is there? So I feel like it's something really only you can answer. Can you move past this? Like, really, in your heart, can you see yourself trusting him again? I'm so sorry. That is terrible. But I'd love to know how you found out. And if you found out and he didn't tell you, just run. Well, that has absolutely shaken me to my core, so I think we're gonna wrap up the video here, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. I love these videos so much. It just always feels like a big girly sleepover. I just love it. It feels so healing or something. But yeah, make sure you follow me over on Instagram if you ever want to get involved with these videos going forward. I love you all so very much. I'm sending you so much love, the biggest virtual hug, and I can't wait to see you all in my next video. Bye bye, friends.